welcome back to We Are the Batman. My name is Mike.
And this is Matthew.
We are covering an interesting topic today, but it is for the worst possible reasons. We are talking about our favorite Bane moments today because a couple of weeks ago, we lost voice actor and renowned stage and screen actor Henry Silva, who was the voice of Bane on Batman, the animated series, and the new Batman Adventures. He passed away at the age of 95 years old. So he hung in there.
Yeah.
Just a few days before his 96th birthday, he led you talk about a guy who led a hell of a screen career. He was big in the spaghetti in spaghetti westerns and in crime dramas in the original Ocean's 11. But we thought it would be fun to talk about our favorite Bane moments, not necessarily from the animated series, but just in general. But I do think, Matthew, it would start if we just talked about what we liked about his take on Bane in Batman the Animated Series.
I think he had a really good voice. Like, I was a fan of that actor before he was Bane. He was there's a director named Alan Davis, and he had that guy always play the drug dealer villain in
Mm-hmm.
every single one of his movies. Code of Silence, Above the Law. So I was already knew who he was. So I liked hearing his voice, but then I think the thing with Bane is if memory serves, he's the first one who realized him in animation, because he's a
Yeah.
relatively new character. Um, he comes out in the Nightfall storyline in the early to mid 90s. But
Mm-hmm.
I just, I think a lot of times when you're doing cartoons here in America, you tend to forget the ethnicity of the character and just cast some dude who can act it out. And the fact that they let a Latino man voice a Latino character, I think is amazing.
Yeah, it's he was Bane, the character was introduced in the year 19 oh, I just had it and I scrolled away from it. He was introduced in 1993 in Batman Vengeance of Bane, issue number 1. And the animated series was the first time he had been depicted, because it was honestly not long after his comic book debut that he entered animation, because the Batman the Animated Series started in 1993. So it was not long. It was clear just how popular his character became, that he was introduced to that into a series that revolutionized a lot of characters. Mr. Freeze creating Harley Quinn, and yeah, for them to in the 90s, we weren't super up on maintaining the ethnicity of characters. So it was kind of interesting that we actually had an actor who was of Latin descent voicing this character. I always thought it sounded to me like he was doing an impression of Ricardo Montalban when he was voicing Bane, who played Khan in Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, for those who don't know who that is, or was on Fantasy Island. It always sounded a little bit like he was doing an impression of Ricardo Montalban. So when I found out that that wasn't who that was, I was like, oh, could have fooled me. All right, all done.
Yeah, I think I could see what you're saying, because he does put on more of an accent. He,
Yeah,
at least in the films that I've seen, I don't know if I've ever actually seen him interviewed. He does not have the thick Latino accent. So it
yeah,
is possible. I mean, there wasn't a lot of Latino actors back then. They could have been buddies, and it could have been him poking fun at quien es muy macho.
well, and also since it was voice acting, they really didn't care who voiced who, just as long as they sounded good on a microphone. So, but it was cool, because I feel like that where the misconception I think a lot of people have about Bane as a character is from Batman and Robin. Uh, there's this kind of default thought of, oh, he's a mindless, roided up monster. And everything from the comics to the animated series to more recent versions of Bane have really understood, like, no, yeah, no, he's strong, but he's also incredibly intelligent. And even Batman the Animated Series got that. He was very cunning and very conniving, and definitely had a brain to match his brawn.
Yes, I mean, this is the guy who figured out how to not only take out Batman, but what his true identity was, which has made his little coup so successful. I mean, he's the guy who takes Batman out.
Yeah, which is something that I think they've done a good job of maintaining as a characteristic about him, whether it's in the animated series, because there's the episode of the new Batman Adventures, Over the Edge, where Scarecrow has everybody believing that Batman killed Barbara Gordon, and Commissioner Gordon hires Bane to help take out Batman. And at this point, his identity has been made public. In The Dark Knight Rises, Bane shows up already knowing who Batman is, and even in the Arkham video games, in Arkham Origins, like, Bane is obsessed with finding out who Batman is and manages to succeed. And there's a clever plot twist as to how that gets rectified. But yeah, it's something that I feel like, on top of all the other sins Batman and Robin committed, and there's a long list of them, I feel like that was one of the biggest disservices they made was to the character of Bane, because he's just a brain dead meathead in that show, or in that movie.
Yes, yes, because I can remember being excited that they actually pulled that character, because the thing of it is that more often than not, in that time frame of comics before, like, you would get the main comic book character, but then they would just make up whatever they wanted to fill out the film. So when suddenly you have Bane, who is like I said, a very very new character, it's like, oh my gosh, this would be great. And then you see the movie, even though I didn't see it in the theater, I knew better. But even watching the movie, going like, what the crap did they do to this guy? Like, this is
Yeah,
horrendous.
it's pretty bad. I tried to see if I could find some information about the casting of Henry Silva. There's not a lot of information out there, stuff like that from the '90s, behind the scenes stuff. There's just not as much information to get a hold of, especially for a comic book property. So I don't really have anything to say as
I mean,
far as, like,
I,
how they came about to finding him, other than
yeah,
just he was an awesome actor.
yeah, I was gonna say, because you have to remember, with the exception of, well, I guess Mark Hamill too, but Kevin Conroy, they pull from theater, they don't pull from movies or
Yeah,
television. So given Henry Silva's theater background, I'm sure somebody was like, hey, he's awesome, let's grab him.
yeah. Like, Mark Hamill was kind of the outlier in that voice cast. He was a guy who he was already an established major Hollywood star because of Star Wars, and he had transitioned already heavily into voice acting, smaller scale stuff, because he was such an uber fan of things, and he voiced a lot of characters, but most notably the Joker. But yeah, Henry Silva is one of those. I mean, this is a guy who, was just, as far as in the acting world, was was a star. I mean, he was a
Yeah,
household name, and so to get him onto this show, voicing essentially a supercharged luchador, but to still play him with this kind of natural charm and charisma that Henry Silva had, is just, it's so impressive.
yes, I liked it very much, and he's only in like 2 or 3 episodes. It's not like he's in a lot of them.
He's not in very many episodes, because the thing I also have to remember is that he is eventually replaced by Hector Elizondo, who I also love. I love Hector Elizondo, but he takes over the role, I believe, in Justice League Unlimited, and Justice League. But so they've they shared it, but for the most part, it was Henry Silva. Um, but yeah, he's not featured in very many episodes because the character was still such a new character. I think they weren't quite sure what to do with him, because there wasn't as much source material to pull from, as
Yeah,
opposed to like a Harley Quinn, who was their own creation. They could do whatever the hell they wanted. But with Bane, since he was an established character, I think they wanted to just kind of limit themselves to what they had to work with at the time.
yeah, and that's cool.
Yeah. So let's do that. Let's get into some of our favorite Bane moments, whether they're from the television show, the movies, maybe comics, video games, whatever we've got. And we'll start with you, Matthew. So what's your let's just start from the top. Like, what's your favorite, like, Bane moment? What's something about Bane that just goes right to the top for you?
I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy, but and it is that initial coup, that initial thing he does, which is, for those of you who did not read the Nightfall thing or don't know exactly what he did, he essentially releases everybody from Arkham, so that Batman has to go chase every single villain that escapes Arkham, and then when he returns after this like 2 or 3 day hunt for all these people, Bane is not in the Batcave, but in Wayne Manor waiting for him.
Hmm.
And then proceeds to just beat the crap out of him and Alfred and
Yeah.
does the famous breaking of the back, which is, part of what changes Batman for a while. That storyline just kind of, you know, that's where we get Azrael. That's where we get eventually the reconciliation between Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne. We get the all black Batman costume in comics. It really is like a serious turning point in the comics. But I just think that it was like you was kind of hinted at before, is like previously every villain was either really super strong and his physical rival, or was incredibly intelligent, but there was no consequence of, physical interaction because the person's like a weakling or just not up to par with Batman. Like Ra's al Ghul, my favorite, he has a little bit of that, but Ra's al Ghul is such a schemer, and his intention is not to kill Batman. He wants Batman on his side. This is the first time you see somebody who is just as intelligent as Bruce Wayne slash Batman, somebody who is more powerful than Batman physically. And on top of that, I don't know if you know this, is literally a villain of his own design, because the Venom drug that Bane uses is created by Bruce Wayne, because there's a
Really?
storyline. Yes. So there's a storyline where Bruce Wayne finds this kidnapped girl, and she's trapped under a rock, and there's like water like filling up where they are, and he's not strong enough to move the rock, and she drowns.
Huh.
And he's like, oh my gosh, I've got to be super strong in order to do this, and creates this drug that makes him super strong, like a steroid. And that's the drug that Venom is the drug he creates, and it drives him crazy, which is why he stops using it and never tries to do that again. And that is the drug Bane uses to make himself super strong. So
Oh, see, I had always thought that Bane was the one that created Venom.
no, it's actually Bruce Wayne.
Oh, wow.
Now, that was that story in the 90s.
That's true. It may have been retconned. It may have been retconned
Yeah,
in some
there's no
places.
telling how many different ways that's been changed. But I thought that was also an interesting touch of the Bane, is that this is a villain Batman created out of his own hubris or his own desire to try and be more. Not so much like, oh, I defeated him as a villain and he fell in a vat and now he's the Joker. This is somebody who is like literally he designed him.
Well, that's such a constant running theme with any of Batman's villains is a lot of the times in some way, shape, or form they're created because of something Batman or Bruce Wayne did. It's that we they mention it in Batman Begins. It's like, we get gun, we buy Kevlar, they buy armor piercing rounds. We get you, and I'll take a look at this Joker card. It's just like there's
Yeah.
always going to be that escalation, and Batman's kind of the ultimate catalyst for escalation. It's the he's now something that criminals know they have to find a way to overcome to an extreme because he's an
Yeah.
extreme. And so Bane coming from a chemical that essentially Bruce Wayne created. Yeah, that again plays right into that theme.
Yeah. So it's great. I love it. I love that kind of stuff. So that is my kind of favorite thing, even though, like, we'll get into like second favorites and things I think are funny later. What about you, man? What's your kind of favorite thing that's come of
My
Bane?
favorite Bane moment is in Batman and Robin. No, I'm kidding. It's mine actually comes from the video game Batman Arkham Origins, in just kind of the way he's used and portrayed in that game. Now, you haven't played the game, Matt, so you're going to kind of be just listening at this point.
Yes.
You're not going to have anything to hear, but this is the one where like him finding out who Batman is such a big focal point in the plot. The story of Arkham Origins is basically Batman's been operating for like a year, and a year or two, and Black Mask has hired all these assassins to try and take out Batman, and it's Bane and it's Deadshot and it's Copperhead and it's Shiva and Deathstroke, and it's a smorgasbord of Batman villains. And Bane's the one that kind of gets the closest, really, but part of it is because he takes it almost personally. He's like, no, I'm not just going to take out Batman, like I'm going to like ruin him. And so you get to a point in the game. Spoiler alert: the game came out years ago.
Yeah.
Um, where Batman has, placed a tracker on Bane, and he thinks he's found his hideout, and what he finds is basically Bane's office that just has, the Charlie from It's Always Sunny conspiracy board with the lines drawn and the newspaper headlines. And he realizes in this moment Bane's figured out who he is, and you have to go back to the Batcave, and the Batcave is just erect. And
Mm.
and Alfred's, unconscious, and it's in terms of the story of the game, it's a fantastic moment because throughout this moment, this chunk of the game's story, Batman and Alfred have been coming to a head because Alfred's like, you are going to die. I am not going to sit back and let you kill yourself over this. Like, this is not. I am not going to let this happen. And it's a very, for a video game, it's a very dynamic character study into the character. And so this creates a moment of kind of it's a come to Jesus moment for Bruce and for Alfred, because Bruce realizes he has got to be a bit more careful, but Alfred also realizes, like, no, these kinds of people are out there and the police can't stop them. Like, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And I won't say how they rectify Bane knowing who Batman is in the video games. It does get rectified in this game. I just, if you haven't played the game yet, go play it. It's an interesting take. I won't spoil that here, but they wrap it up. So you never wonder, like, well, how does he know? But he doesn't know. They deal with it. It's fine. But also how he's used in later games as well, whether it's Arkham Asylum, Arkham City. Yeah, he does. I don't remember if he shows up in Arkham Knight or not. I don't think he does. Um, I'm sure I'm wrong, but how, because by the time you meet him in his later form, he's kind of been experimented on, and he's like twice his size, and he's a little just kind of deformed and stuff, but he's still smart, he's still ruthless. And there's little touches to Bane in the games they get, like the fact that he still has his bear. He still has Osito, his little teddy bear, which in the comics is the bear that was his childhood teddy bear, and then he keeps it with him as he goes on. He hides a knife inside of it uh, to protect himself as he's growing up. It's little touches like that. So yeah, I feel like the Arkham video games did a really good job, especially in Arkham Origins, with handling the character of Bane.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I've only played a little bit of one.
Oh, okay.
I think I watched the YouTube video of the Batmobile bit from Arkham because I think that was the big thing about that. Is that
Yeah.
one the first
Oh,
time that you get to use the
yeah.
Batmobile?
The less we talk about that, the better. It was a neat idea. Look, the Batmobile in Arkham Knight is really neat. It is shoved down your throat to the point where they shit the bed on a couple of boss fights, and that's all I really want to say about that. But it's a cool idea. It's a cool design. It just gets way overused. But Arkham Origins is one of those games. It was because it was made after WB Montreal and Rocksteady kind of had their split, and so it was the prequel to the first two games. So they brought in different voice actors who actually did a pretty good job because they had Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill up to that point. And but it was anything. The game itself was a little glitchy, which is kind of its downfall.
Hmm.
But it's a good game nonetheless. But yeah, how they handled Bane and a lot of those characters was very good.
Nice, nice. I think my second favorite moment with Bane, but this is a moderate cheat,
Yeah.
is from the Batman animated series. And it's not really Bane, it just involves Bane. And the fact that they had a character that's dressed like a luchador and Batman does the Frankensteiner to him like three or four times just had
Uh,
me and my buddy dying laughing. Like, like one, if you, I don't know if you know what a Frankensteiner is when you do a front flip and you put your legs around their head and then kind of pull them down into a takedown.
Yeah.
And it's just like one, if you're wearing a cape, there's no way that works, right? But two, it was just one of those weird, like, where did Batman suddenly come up with this luchador?
Booyaka, booyaka!
Yeah, it was
619!
bizarre but awesome at the same time. It was just like he does it like 3 times in a row, and you're like, all right, Batman, do your thing.
Well, what's funny is that continues into the games because you have to fight Bane a lot or fight his goons or other guys who have been jacked up with the venom. And like that's kind of how you take some of them down sometimes. So that has continued to be
Nice.
kind of almost a meme within Batman lore itself.
Perfect. I like it.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, and it was so hard not to make this my favorite, and it's kind of a recency thing, but my second favorite is literally anything Bane does in the Harley Quinn animated series.
Yes.
Just from a comedic, because I don't know if I've said this on this podcast, but I've said this on other movie podcasts and stuff. If it can make me laugh, it already has me 75% of the way. The other 25% is just overall quality. But if it can make me laugh, I'm already on board. And the way they use Bane in the Harley Quinn animated series is comedically some of the best comedy writing I have ever seen in my life. It is so funny the way they totally rag on the Tom Hardy version, but the fact that he's still kind of an idiot, which is kind of their way of making fun of how Batman and Robin played him. But he's just kind of a sweetheart. He's just a simple dude. You know, he wants his pasta maker back, or he wants the guy at the smoothie place to stop getting his name wrong, or he doesn't want Joker to take his food at the bar mitzvah, whatever it is, and having to be the guy keeping track of the corporate credit card usage. And it's so funny when he takes the corporate credit card from Penguin's nephew and is like, I will be this credit card's reckoning, and he can't break it in half. I will fold it in half and throw it out the window. It is. Oh, it's so good. When he drops his chicken satay. I will blow you up, you chicken satay. It makes me laugh every time. It's just, if you haven't watched the Harley Quinn animated series, do it now. Like, pause this episode and go watch all 3 seasons. Season 3 just wrapped, and then come back and finish this episode. Like, it is such a funny meta satirical love letter to the DC universe, and the way they use Bane is just the best.
Yes, he is one of 3 things. I think, I can't say I love it. I can't say I hate it. I keep trying to go back and play with it. You know what I mean? But him in the show is gold.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about yesterday about the like, no, I don't work for Two-Face. We are co-partners. And, Batman's like, no, you work for him. He's like, no, that's
together.
not. Yeah, we work together. We are equal grounds. You're just like, oh my gosh, dude.
Oh, it's so good. It's just, yeah, the voice is what does it. The fact that it's such a spoof on Tom Hardy's Bane. And it's because it literally sounds like somebody just trying to do a joking impression for like their SNL audition of Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, and they make the stitching in his mask kind of change to based on his emotions. It looks like he's smiling. I one of my favorite moments of that will always be when he keeps trying to order a Razzie Zazzy smoothie from the smoothie place, and they get it wrong. And he's going to go blow it up, and the streets will run red with Razzie Zazzy.
Yes.
I'm hiring you goons to go on this trip. Make sure you eat. Not so much that you get sluggish, but not so little that you get fainty.
Just the weird, like, take it. Just yeah, it makes me laugh. Him and the plant are my 2 favorites in that show.
Oh, Frank the Plant is my spirit animal.
Yeah.
Oh, he's boo fucking who, Harley.
Yeah.
So what, he's like a main part of season 3. So when you get to season 3, you're going to be very happy.
Okay. I'm trying to get there.
It's so good. Yeah, I mean, there's so many good Bane moments. I mean, even the Dark Knight Rises, I enjoyed what they were going for with Tom Hardy. I don't think the problem was him.
No.
I think where that movie falls short is the story's a little messy, and the sound design guys needed like another month to figure out Bane's voice, because the sound design on it just isn't great, and that's not a problem with Tom Hardy. It's just it's the way the sound it's the way the sound editors incorporated it. It didn't
Yes.
quite jive.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird. I feel like I know he was probably muffled when he's wearing the thing, but I don't know
Yeah.
where you guys were going with
Oh,
what
he
he
definitely
did.
was. I mean, because there was that a lot of critics who got to go to like the Comic-Con thing where they showed that opening scene on the plane have talked about how the sound wasn't done yet, and so you really couldn't understand what he was saying. And I found that when I saw it in theaters, I had a hard time watching it on home media, like streaming or on a laptop. I think it sounds better. I don't know if that means they finished it there, or just because you're in a theater and it's big and booming and that can do a lot to sound if it gets lost in that a little bit. But yeah, it's I but there are, I mean, what I liked about him in The Dark Knight Rises was they got the evil genius side down. I mean, a he's a smart guy. He's a great strategist, and he's great at being almost kind of a cult leader, which was a really interesting take to make him kind of the spiritual successor to Ra's al Ghul for the League of Shadows. I was like, okay, that's different enough that I'm interested, and it fits enough in with the character. But again, how the movie, where that movie really falls apart is the end, and even with
Yes.
Bane, that's kind of where that movie loses traction. But again, the problems with the movie aren't Bane. Like
No.
Bane is done, and especially when you consider that we weren't that far removed from Batman and Robin. It was like what,
10
10,
years,
10
15,
years, something like
maybe
that. When did
15,
Batman and Robin come out? Batman was 97.
99. Oh,
So
no,
50, so
97.
so it was 15 years. So it's a little bit of time. But Batman and Robin's Bane was so famously hated that when you find out Bane's going to be the villain of The Dark Knight Rises, people are already kind of like,
Yeah.
I don't know. And ultimately, again, he wasn't the problem. He was very good.
Yes, there's huge logic problems with that movie that kills it.
Yeah.
But beyond that, no. But yeah, I think Tom Hardy is great as Bane. I don't think there's anybody else without getting into the let's not worry about acting and get into size. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I always feel like, look, it's
The Rock.
never a bad idea to hire talent.
No. No. Yeah. No. As long as you hire a good actor, I could give a shit.
Yeah.
Talent, there's nothing wrong with adding talent. Talent can only make something better.
The best part of that movie is probably there's an interview with Tom Hardy, and he talks about like the first time he came on the set, and he sees Christian Bale like in the makeup trailer or something, and he's like, well, he's not that big. I'm bigger than him. Like, well, I don't know why it's a big deal. And then like they go off their different ways, and then they meet up on set, and Bale is in the full Batman outfit. And he said he just like got intimidated. He's like, holy crap, he's freaking Batman. And he said Bale just looked at him and was like, yeah, I'm Batman, bro. Like what you think you were here for, man? It was just such a comical thing of like, yeah, like it's different to see somebody sitting in a chair and then suddenly they're in the outfit. You're like, oh no, he is Batman. Holy crap! What am I doing here? Now I have to fight him.
I forget who wrote the article, but they called Bane in The Dark Knight Rises an amalgamation of Lenin, Bin Laden, and Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's like, you know what? That's accurate. I will accept that as being true. That's a pretty good comparison there.
Yeah,
Um,
I can go with that.
yeah. But yeah, so lots of great Batman, or not Batman. Well, there are lots of great Batman moments, but lots of
Yeah,
great Bane moments. I mean, uh, I never got into Gotham, so I really can't comment on Shane West's version of him on in Gotham. I abandoned ship on that show during season 2. I don't know if you watched it or can really say anything about it.
I got into. I think episode 6 was my like, nope, these guys are all dumb. I'm not watching this anymore.
Yeah, I
Um,
thought it was neat that they got Michael Dorn to voice him for Batman: The Brave and the Bold.
Yes, that was cool.
Having Worf voice Bane is just kind of special.
You know what? You know what? I really, another version I liked, even though
Mm.
he's not in a lot, was his version in the Batman. It was a weird kind of like I'm this stealthy ninja, and then he would turn
Yeah,
on the venom and suddenly turn into this weird Hulk. It was just a different kind of thing because I liked that he was a threat either way.
yeah. I had a harder time with that one just because of his hulked out version was so ridiculous. Like it was ridiculous.
Yes.
Like it was the Hulk, but like maroon.
Yes.
It was just one of those. It was like because I just did that rewatch of it earlier this year.
Yeah.
I was like, I am trying so hard to be on board with this, but it is just not. Plus, they went through three voice actors. Ron Perlman did it in one episode. Clancy Brown did it in an episode, and I forget the first guy who did it, but it was just like, just, guys, you know what, guys, just don't do Bane anymore. Just I don't think you fully because I think they had a hard time with they were trying to do something fairly different with every villain in that show, which I appreciated, and I think Bane was kind of one of the big misfires.
Well, and it also that like there's difference between the prestige of what they were doing with the Batman animated series and you're doing a Saturday morning cartoon. You know,
Yeah,
like I think when you do it a Saturday morning cartoon, some people just taking the paycheck, but other people, no, I really want to stretch my acting muscles, and this is not the show for that.
no, it is not. It is not. Oh, I forgot. I'm looking at some stuff here right now. I forgot Danny Trejo did him in Young Justice. I
Oh,
totally
that's
forgot about that.
right. That's
I haven't
right.
watched Young Justice in forever. I might need to go back and give that another look. Um,
Uh,
no, it is what it is. Again, it's more it's kind of like a Friday night cartoon. That's like the one you look forward to when you're a kid. It's Friday night, and you know, because it's more like a preteen teenager show than a kid show.
Correct. The problem I have with that show, honestly, is that like the the characters that it's like any super ensemble show. The characters I really like watching, and the characters I don't like, I don't want to sit through their drama. Like,
Yeah,
please cut Martian Girl, Miss Martian, whatever she's called, Superboy. Cut so much of their storylines out, please.
yeah.
And this last season, I was like, nope, you guys fooled me because you have Nightwing in the intro and you gave him a new outfit, and he's only in like 3 episodes.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, no,
I never got that far into it. So.
yeah,
But I'll tell you what, there's a Bane moment we haven't talked about that's probably the greatest of all time. And that is their parody of Bane on South Park in the Insecurity episode. And if you don't know what that is, it was right after The Dark Knight Rises came out, and all the guys in town thought the UPS man was sleeping with their wives. So they all went and bought Bane masks, which made them all talk like this, and they all went and
oh
ganged up
gosh,
and beat the crap out of the UPS man. You should have left our wives alone, Mister UPS man. Cartman puts one on. You should have respected my authority. And
oh my gosh,
it is ridiculous. It is one of my favorite episodes of that show. I'm not gonna lie. It's a really funny episode.
I'll have to
Um,
find it.
yeah, it's in season. I'm looking it up right now. Season 16. And it's called Insecurity. It's a really funny episode on its own, and then the couple of scenes they have where they're making fun of Bane are fantastic.
I will definitely look into it because I used to love South Park. It just got a little trying.
I just did a rewatch of every episode because they're all on HBO Max, and it's a great binging like background show to have on just when you want something on that's stupid that you don't have to think about. And there's definitely a point kind of in the like around season 10 where it kind of dips a little bit, but then around like season 14 or 15 it comes back strong, and I think everything since then has just been some of the best.
Okay, yeah, I will have to revisit it and the
Yeah.
baneness of the Bane. I like it.
Yeah, if nothing else, just that episode is worth a watch. It's yeah, I mean, there's a lot like there's not really ever been like too many like truly bad things done with Bane, and even then, it wasn't so much the problem was Bane; it was just the stuff around him. But ultimately, a lot of this goes back. I think part of where Bane becomes so popular, not just because of his great run in the comics with Nightfall and everything, but the way that Henry Silva portrayed him in the animated series. I remember the first time he shows up on that show, and I am locked in. There's a reason this character went from comics to animated series to live action movie in a span of 5 years. Like, he is introduced in comics in 93. He hits the animated series in 93 or 94 rather. And then he's in that till 97, 98. And then in 98, he is in Batman and Robin, or 97, Batman and Robin. Granted, the movie sucks. But there's a reason that he hit that huge amount of popularity, similar to Harley Quinn, is because he's just a very interesting character. And Henry Silva is a massive part of what did that, because his portrayal of him, the way he voiced him and really took his voice acting of Bane so seriously, really shone through.
Indeed. Yeah, I have nothing to add. That was awesome.
You're damn right it was. Those are our big highlights from the character of Bane. And of course, our thoughts and our hearts go out to Henry Silva's family and loved ones and friends. 95 years on this earth with an amazing career, and it's because of him we're able to appreciate this great character. And we cannot thank him enough for all the years he gave us on screen and on the microphone in voice acting. And so we would love to know what your favorite Bane moments are, what your favorite Henry Silva moments are. Please let us know. You can hit the link in this episode's description to go to our Google form and let us know there. You can also let us know on Twitter, Twitter at We Are the Batman. And you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Mike Shea.
And you can find me at Mr. J Ninja.
Let us know. We'd love to hear from you guys. Make sure you submit those comments, submit your questions. We'll do another Q&A episode once we get some more of those. And we will see you guys again next time here on We Are the Batman. Same bat time, same bat podcast channel.
Catch you next time.